This is the Leeds City Centre Square Design Project presented by Group 5.
In the scope of developing into a prospering, contemporary and sustainable city, the Leeds City Council has decided to redevelop the city square located in the centre of Leeds. So what does the city square have to do with the image of the city? So firstly, the Leeds City Square sits in the centre of Leeds, holding a representative role, therefore it should represent this identity. Secondly, it is located directly next to the train station, therefore often being the first place people see when they arrive, and therefore it should be very welcoming. Furthermore, it is one of the busiest spaces when it comes to transport, as there is a lot of surrounding traffic. So what are the needs of the city square? So currently the Leeds City Square is an outdated space which does not align with the future vision of the city at all. There is an extreme amount of pollution accumulating in the space because of the high density car traffic. Not only is this a hazard, but it also makes it very dangerous space, especially for children. It completely disregards accessibility because of poorly designed pedestrian infrastructure, as well as disconnected cycle lanes. Seeing as the square was built in 1897, the concept of sustainability was not yet of any importance, another major reason for rearranging priorities and adapting the square to be more contemporary. So generally, its stated characteristics and lack of identity, as well as the disruption of larger scale interactions due to high levels of traffic, do not allow for the space to be utilised by people at all. So now we looked at the drivers. So to identify the council's need for the redevelopment of the square, the report incorporating the council's ambitions was analysed and interpreted as we will describe now. So the first point that was made was that people should stand at the forefront of the redevelopment. So the Leeds Our Space strategy, a strategy aiming at making the public realm the city's greatest cultural asset, should therefore be the focal point of the whole redevelopment. At the same time, it should incorporate Leeds' history and carry the identity of the city, as it is the first place people see when they arrive in the city. Another major aspect of the redevelopment is adjusting the transportation system to be more sustainable and to help the council meet its goal to be carbon neutral by 2030. So in order to understand the current situation of Leeds, to develop a proposal that can fulfill all these expectations, we conducted background research. Firstly, we looked at the history of Leeds. Leeds was originally a centre for woolen and cloth manufacturing, but diversified into a multi-productional industrial city within the scope of the Industrial Revolution. Specifically, the bronze statues surrounding the square represent Leeds' industrial and religious history, celebrating the growth of the city. Another observation of ours when looking at the other city squares of Leeds was that every square incorporates a historic artifact into space, giving them all a sense of the city's identity and background. So since Leeds is known for its artistic and musical culture, the space needed to incorporate some form of artistic element.
We are focusing on the design constraint and the environmental constraints. What acted as a limiter to designing a new solution for the Leeds City Square was that of other existing squares and their purposes. As a part of our design process, we have researched all the different squares found in the city of Leeds and categorized their purposes into two different purposes, which are transportation hub and entertainment centers. Our general observations and research lead us to see that there is no one single square in Leeds that achieves both objectives. Considering the influence that Leeds City Square has over creating an essential first impression to the people who arrive in Leeds, we believed it was best to design the city square to serve as a place that does both. For the environmental constraints, it is crucial to be able to score a minimum of a very good score regarding the BREEAM guideline to be able to make the proposed square symbiotic towards the urban environment. One of the main parameters that we set during our design process was that of designing a square which promotes walking, cycling, and the use of public transport, those abiding by the public transport improvements and developer contributions. The surrounding residents need to be considered as well. The surrounding business will be affected by our construction project. Place that does both. For the environmental constraints, it is crucial to be able to score a minimum of a very good score regarding the BREEAM guideline to be able to make the proposed square symbiotic towards the urban environment. One of the main parameters that we set during our design process was that of designing a square which promotes walking, cycling, and the use of public transport, those abiding by the public transport improvements and developer contributions. The surrounding residents need to be considered as well. The surrounding business will be affected by our construction project.
Our design process pictured the Leeds City Square becoming an energetic point, which prioritizes sustainability and acts as the spearhead of the movement of making Leeds more environmentally symbiotic. The already existing Leeds City Square is exposed to heavy traffic as well as having major absences in terms of the greenery on the square itself. Therefore, through redesigning the Leeds City Square, we have opportunities in combating CO2, creating a self-sustainable square, and combating the issue of heavy traffic in Leeds. Leeds City Square, we have opportunities in combating CO2, creating a self-sustainable square, and combating the issue of heavy traffic in Leeds.
What is our proposal? Our process of creating a proposal design was heavily influenced by the three design principles provided to us by the Leeds City Council. Before heading into the technicalities, however, we wanted to envision and come to agreement with what Leeds want to become as a city in the future. Having considered the drivers behind the project, we believe that our goal is to make Leeds City Square into a multifunctional space that focuses on sustainability. To allow for the city square to become a comfortable and inclusive square, which successfully attracts and retains people to utilize it, we looked at ways to improving the form, size, landscaping, activities, site furniture, and focal point elements of the square through our design. To improve the form of the current city square, our proposal relies on freeing up the center of the square from the existing monuments, as well as improving the concavity and aesthetics of pavement through the inclusion of a color scheme and higher quality materials. This will allow for the feeling of an enclosure to be created when found inside the square. Regarding the site furniture, we ensured that our design improved upon the barness of the old city square by making it a more functional space. This included strategically placed benches to allow ease to cyclists to park their bikes, inclusion of disposal bins and recycling bins, which were previously absent, as well as directional signs to reduce navigational time through the square. Our selection of materials in the design for the site furniture made sure to make the resistance to climate changing conditions. Regarding seating, we took into consideration that benches are not the only way to accommodate for this purpose. The inclusion of movable seats, as well as even umbrellas inside the square, can allow for many different activities to take place at different times. The inclusion of movable seats, as well as even umbrellas inside the square, can allow for many different activities to take place at different times.
Having achieved a design maximizing the requirements, a finalized render of the proposal was prepared, which includes the following points of improvement. We minimized unwanted traffic around the city square by joining parts of Bishopgate Street with Park Row and Infirmary Street in a two-way direction, primarily used by public transport. All other roads through the square will be converted into pedestrian or cycle lanes. We maximize sustainable travel through the city square and the use of public transport through the creation of a cycling and pedestrian lane network, which crosses all the directions of the squares and connects the already existing cycling and pedestrian lanes in the previous site. We created public bicycle rentals and storage locations and made sure to colorate the pedestrian and cycling lanes as to avoid accidents. We created and improved the green space in the microclimate of the city square through planting 500 trees of various sizes, inclusion of grass of 2,500 meters squared in terms of dimension, which is estimated to cause a reduction of CO2 emissions by 48%. We made sure to save natural resources through the provision of rainwater management when it came to the existing fountains. The inclusion of spaces for all groups and ages and associated activities included children's playgrounds, fountains, and a cultural theater. We maximize safety for everyone through increasing the safety lighting during nighttime and the conversion of roads to pedestrian and cycle lanes. In terms of accessibility of the city square, we made sure to have inclusion of disabled car parks, access ramps, braille, as well as audio signage. This has been the presentation for the Leeds City Centre Square Design Project. Thank you.